Hello, today I want to talk about where the files are placed for Greenplum. Here we have the master, okay, MDW. We've got the standby master, SMDW. We've got the, the segment server, SDW1, and segment server, SDW2. Okay, so the master files, when you first log into the system, you're as GP admin. Again, GP admin owns everything. So you say, who am I? Oops. Really, it's who in Unix. So I'm GP admin, which is what I should be. So we want to look and see where the files are. Okay. So the actual data directories are in /data. Now, you're going to find out in some instances it's going to be data 1. In my instance, on my laptop, it's data. And then you're going to have a master directory, and you're going to have a gpseg1 directory for the master. Okay, that is where all of our data is, and where our data is, the data is stored, and it's a master data directory. Okay. Now that's right. So when you look at see what's in that directory, you have many things. You have this base directory. Base directory holds the actual files that hold the data. Okay, so every table ends up being a file inside of that base directory. Right? You have global. Global is tables that are global across all databases inside of the Greenplum instance. All right, you've got. Let's see what else we got. We've got PG under log. That is where your instance logs are, and sometimes if certain errors that you'll see in PG log will you'll have to end up going to PGX log, which is basically these are the background process errors that you will probably find. Basically, what it really goes in there a lot of times is some type of a system dump if you actually get an error. Okay. The other important files, PostgreSQL.conf. That is the init file for the master database. Okay. Now the master database controls everything, so that's really where you would change all of your parameters. So let's look at that. Cat the PostgreSQL.conf file in the master data directory. Okay, so let's go back up to the top. So these are all the parameters that you can set in Greenplum, which affect how it runs. Okay. So I'm not going to go over them. There's a whole video that you can just do for that. So all of these parameters need to be set or unset. Now they all have defaults. So you're going to find that out. Let's see if we can find one that's actually set. This is the actual generic one. I have not actually modified this one. This is how it comes when you first get it. So for instance, client min messages, that's the level of message that you send to the clients that are connected to your instance. Log min messages, this is the level of errors or statements that get sent to the instance log. So I always keep log messages. I don't have that as a warning. I usually have that as debug 5 because I like to know what's going on. The client messages I keep low because that confuses people when they get too many errors. So try to keep that. So basically, this is where you set all of your parameters for your instance. Again, this is the master data directory. Okay. So let's look what other files we have in here. We have the pghba.conf file. This is the authentication. It stands for host-based authentication, HBA. So let's cat that one out. Every role has to have some line in here that it applies to. Okay. So let's see what's in there. So if you make a role and you want it to log in, it will have to be inside of this file. Okay, so here what you can see, and again, this would be a whole video just on how to explain this file. Just real quick, you have gpadmin, can log into this server, which is actually this. That's the address of this server, and it's host-based authentication, which means if you're in as gpadmin, you get in. It trusts the fact that you're in the OS, so you authenticate through the OS basically. There is that's really all there is. Again, this is a brand new system, so let's see what else there is to point out. So you're going to say which databases. So this is what type of authentication. This is which databases. In this case, is all databases. This is the role or user, gpadmin, and this is ident, which means locally it identifies locally. Okay, trust means that it's going to trust this. Now you will want to modify this when you first install, because you don't want all these trusts there. That's too much trust. You actually want to remove some of these things. You want at least a password or some type of other authentication, not just trust that it's coming in. Right. So what else is in here? So let's look at the logs. So you need a PG under log. Now LTR, that puts them in order of how old they are. So the last log that it actually did was this one. It's VI, that one. If I can type. Okay, so that's the last log. So here, let's go down to the bottom. So this is the last thing we did, and right now my instance is down, so that makes sense. So shutdown requested. This is the last thing I did, was it shut down. Database system is shut down. Okay. Now there is actually an error in here, which I'm gonna have to look up, but that's basically what it will look like. So this is your instance log. What goes in your instance log is controlled by parameters inside of your PostgreSQL.com file. Okay. So this is that, for instance, that that one parameter says exactly what type of information goes in here. Do you want everything, which is what I want? That's why I go to debug 5. That means that every error is going to have as much information as it has to put in the log. It starts out with the date, which is good. It says who ran it. It says what database it was run on, and then it has the, in this case, that's the PID number. The Unix PID right here is 5471, right? And then what it was doing. Okay, so that's basically what these look like. They all have the same format. Let's get out of this. Okay. So what else is there in here? Oops. We're actually still there. Go back to that data directory. All right. What else is in here? We have. Let's see. PG log distributed. Let's go into the base directory. So this is, you can see where your files are. All right. Now, when you do an ls inside of base, what these represent, these are 3 directories. These 3 directories are 3 different databases. Database 1 is template. Oops, right here. No, if I could highlight it. So that 1 is a template database. Or template 1, I'm sorry. Or template 0. Alright, then one of these is Postgres and one of these is template 1. We'd have to start with the database and look for it. But these are, every database you create will have a separate directory inside of here. So let's go into this database. LS. So what you see here is the OID of all of the objects. So if there's object IDs, these are all tables. Okay, so every one of these things is an actual table. They're binary. If you look at them, you can't see text or anything. They're actually binary. But so, for instance, 2651. If you look in the catalog under PG under class, you're going to find, you can find out exactly what table that belongs to. So that is a table or an object. Okay, so every time you create a new table, a new file goes in here, and it's named by its object ID. By the way, the same thing is true on the previous directory. These directory names. So, for instance, this one right here is an object ID of that database. Okay, and inside of all of those other ones, you're going to have the same thing. So inside of every one of these directories, you're going to have the exact same thing. Now this is the master, and of course in Greenplum, you only have one master on the master, one master instance. If you are in a segment server, let's go to segment server 1. In the segment server, it's going to be a little bit different because you can have many segments on the same host. In this case, we only have one, and it's going to be almost the same path. All right. So again, check out who you are. Right. Now, when you first log into these systems, you're going to be in /home/gpadmin. So pwd, right? /home/gpadmin. That's your generic directory. Okay. So whatever's in there is really, there's nothing in here that's really needed. A lot of it's just stuff like when you built the system, you're going to have some logs when it was built. There's some other scripts that maybe people have put in there. A lot of times there's admin scripts that are in there. So again, this is just your standard home directory. Let's go to /data. Now in this case it says /data. In an actual instance, like the appliance, it's going to have two data directories. In this case, it's data. In a lot of systems, it will be /data1 and /data2, because you might have multiple places to put your data. Okay, so you have data 1 and data 2. But again, on this small one, it's just got /data. All right, so let's see what's in there. All right. So in the other one, it was /data/master, but right here we're talking about a primary segment. Okay, so ls. Now, if you look and see what's in there, you have a mirror directory and a primary directory. If you have mirrors, they're going to be in the mirror directory. If you have primaries, they're going to be in the primary directory. Well, we have one primary at this point, so let's go in there. P auto. So /primary. All right. Now we have gpseg0. Right. If you notice, it has a different name. Okay, this is so let's go into that one. And this is actually the data directory of segment number 0. So gpseg0. So ls. And if you're going to notice, it looks very much like the data directory for the master, because it should. Greenplum is nothing more than many modified Postgres instances working together. So every instance is going to have its own data directory, and it's going to look very similar. Now, it does have its own PostgreSQL.conf file, but you should never really be modifying that except for in certain instances, because most of the time you're going to be dealing with the master. There's very few instances where you have to modify that file. You pretty much leave that one alone. And same with the pghbay.conf file. Again, it's the same name files, but the only thing that logs into the segments is the master. No one else should be logging directly into the segments. Right. Again, in extreme circumstances, there is ways to do that, but on average, you don't want people logging in. But let's say the segment 1 you're having problems with, you can go into this pglog directory. All right. So cd pglog, and this is going to be the instance logs for this segment only. That's LTR, right? So the last thing that this thing did probably should be saying that it shut down, because that was the last thing I did on it. So we're going to tail that one. Oops. Let's see what happened. Let's see. The last thing it did, there we go. Smart shutdown request. Okay. And the last thing it did, database system is shut down. Okay. So what it's talking about is not the whole instance. This is the log for only segment 1. So we're in the segment 1 data directory. Okay. Okay, let's get out of that. Or actually, so what about segment 2? Okay, let's go to the next. This is SDW2. Again, segment server 2, and it actually has segment instance 2. So again, we're going to go to the same place, /data, all right, /primary, and seg1. If you notice, this is seg1. The other one was seg0. Remember? So the directory is named with the DB ID of that, or database ID of that database, or of that instance. I'm sorry, of that segment. All right, so let's look at that. And again, you have the same basic files. Okay, so it's going to look the same basic way. And again, this log file has only the segment 1 errors. Okay, again, it's not the whole thing. Now, back in the master, there will be errors in this PG log, in this instance log, from the segment. The segment instance will send errors back to the master, which will be at some part of them, or truncated part, will end up in that PG log. All right. So that's where the segments. Now the standby master is going to look the same. I'm not going to really show you much, but it's going to look the same as the master because it has to. This is the backup of the master in case you lose the master, right? Standby master. /data master and seg1. Again, it's going to look exactly the same. That's where all your files are. And again, if you look in this base directory, it's going to look exactly the same as the master because it is a copy of it. Okay. If you look inside of these base directories, this is where the actual data resides, is in these base directories. This is just catalog information. The only thing kept in the masters is this catalog information. All right. Let's see. Let's also look at the binary. All right. So here, let's do it. Showing the environment. So env. This is in the master. So if you look at, you can also find your data directory this way. So we're looking for GP. Let's see. Term shell. Looking. Looking for GP data directory. Might have to. Come on, I know it's in here. Hold on. It's probably staring right at it. Looking for master data directory. Did I go over it? There it is. Okay. So if you notice, that looks very familiar. All right. So that's actually how it finds out. If you don't have that set, you're going to get an error when you try to stop or start the database. That has to be set. It needs to know where the master data directory is. Then the master itself will tell it where all the other segment instances are. All right. So where are the binaries? Let's look at that. cd/esr/local. All right. In user local, you have where the binaries are actually stored. You can have multiple. If you notice, you can have multiple versions, and basically there is a link to whatever version you're on at that point. So Greenplum-DB, this link is the link that goes to, and let's look at it actually. So let's AL. All right. Well, it's pointing to user local Greenplum-B 4350. So I'm on 4350. So this goes to this, right? So inside of this directory is where your binaries sit. But you can always just go to Greenplum-DB and you'll end up going in the same place. All right. So this is where your binaries get installed. One thing that you should notice is greenplumpath.sh. This is provided so that you can find all of your binaries. This should be in your .profile. If it's not in your .profile, you won't be able to run anything. It won't be able to find the binaries, PSQL. It won't be able to do really anything without that set. So you actually do a source of this file, and even if the version changes, as long as you use this link, the Greenplum-DB, it should be calling the right file. All right, your binaries again are going to be in your bin directory. Cd bin. Right. If you do an ls, there's all your binaries. There are also all of your scripts to handle starting, stopping, adding segments, initializing, everything. So these are all of your scripts and binaries that you need to run. So, for instance, if they're where's GP stop? Let's go under GP SSH. That's GP start. All right. GP state. So all of your binaries are in here. Okay. CD slash ls. Let's look at this again. There are some documents in here, so you're going to find out when you're trying to set things up. Inside that docs directory has a generic install file, which you will be able to modify when I get. I will do that in a different video. There's licensing. There's your libraries that you need access to for this instance. Madlib libraries. Those are analytical libraries. Those are good. SBin and share. So this is where all of your binaries sit. So if somebody says you need to go look at your binary directory, this is where it will be. So pwd. We are in user local greenplum-db. Okay. Well, hopefully this helps you understand where a lot of your files are. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thank you for watching.